Welcome to Higashi Honganji Los Angeles Between New Year service, Shushoe today. I'd like to say thank you for joining us today. And now we will begin the service with the chanting of Shoshinge on page 20 of the service book. 新年明けましておめでとうございます。本日はロサンゼルス別院主将へご参加くださいましてありがとうございます。それでは、昇進下のお務めを、始めたいと思います。金行本の20ページをお開きください。 上群上昇一心、非入独大崩壊、出逆入大へ収集、特使連芸造正会、即昇進尿昇進、有本の人間人図、入生寺恩寺王言、本寺尊南両天使、上皇乱消防さらい、三道ルシ十条教、盆章宣教気楽法、天神菩薩論中下、報道因果見性が、大言栄光有他力少女心唯心人、悪善本部新人法、承知生じ即年半、一子無料光明道、小修上会受け、同社結晶道南省、唯名浄土活入、万全自力援言修、円満特合感染症、三風三神経音言、増和おめ道品、一生増悪地具税、四安尿会称名化。運動独病不祥費、大愛上祭用逆悪、法名名号経年、介入恩安大地会、幼者小獣混合心、狂気一年総合、用意大東逆三人、即小小市上楽、献身公開一大教、返記安尿官一切、天道修人安仙人、法慶二道小弁流、特重悪人唯勝負、薬剤費摂取中、煩悩証言水有権、大表彰が、本次元空用仏教、連民全幕本部に、新宗教商公演習、戦略本願具属性、遠来生じ臨伝へ、月地儀上一生し、即入弱上無意楽一新人異動入、仏教大事修士と、詳細無縁極辱悪、同族自修具道心、唯化心死。 Thank you, everyone. And now we will have English Dharma talk from Rinban Noriaki. それでは、英語の法話を伊藤紀明輪番から頂戴いたします。Sorry. We will have New Year's message from ministers. Start from Reverend Paul Imahara and next Reverend Tomoyuki Hasegawa and Reverend Peter Hata and Reverend Masashi Fujii and Rinban Noriaki と。これより、新年の、挨拶を開教師とスタッフより頂戴します。最初はポール今原開教師、次に長谷川智之氏、その次にピーター・ハタ開教師、その次に藤井正氏、最後に輪番伊藤紀明より挨拶を頂戴します。
Happy New Year, everyone. I hope this year, the 2021, will be a much better year than the last year, 2020. I'm talking about because of the pandemic condition that we all have to be in. I myself living in the retirement home. Many people have affected by this COVID-19, and it's been quite hectic and concern to all of us. And we are looking forward to receiving our vaccination, and not sure when it's coming, but we've been told that's very soon, as in 2 weeks and something like that. But I hope we have not received any vaccination yet. So it is our concern, but I think we'll be all in control, a better control as far as this virus is concerned. And so for us to live a little bit a more comfortable year in 2021. And I hope we all be have a happy new year. Thank you. Let me switch to Japanese. 皆さん、明けましておめでとうございます。こうして、2021年を迎えましたけれども、昨年2020年は大変な年でありました。というのはもちろん、コロナの件で私たちは3密を守らなければいけない。そして自粛をしなければいけない。でも、このように考えましても、私たちは生きることには生きております。ですから、生きることに私は感謝を持ちながら生きていきたいと思います。これは、私は如来さんからいただいた私たちの命ですから、私はいい加減に扱ってはいけないと思います。私は私なりにしっかりと、皆さんは皆さんなりにしっかりと、こうして新しい2021年を生きていきましょう。ね。じゃあみんなと仲良く、頑張って新しい年を迎えていきたいと思います。どうもありがとうございました。ではこれで失礼いたします。ごめんください。
Good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year to all of you. Well, for most of us, I think never have those three words held so much hope because, frankly, 2020 was a really tough year. And if I had to sum 2020 up in one word, I think that word might be anxiety. 2020 seemed to present one crisis after another. And as we know, in regards to the coronavirus pandemic, here in LA County, our collective anxiety continues to grow as we experience, yet another surge. But, not to make light of this very serious situation, but I did want to share with you an article that I read recently that seemed to put the experience of anxiety in a somewhat more positive perspective. And I say somewhat because I think this is a kind of a good news, bad news situation. Okay, let me first share the bad news. So the bad news is that, as the Buddha taught, if we're anxious, it's because we're worrying about things that are largely out of our control, right? Of course, we do have some control in the sense that as Buddhists, we should be awake to the truth of impermanence and to the fragile nature of life, and therefore, we should be following all the guidelines for staying safe in the pandemic. But as the Buddha also taught, if we're overly anxious, we may actually be living in fear of impermanence. And he taught that there is a difference between living awake to impermanence and living in fear of it. Okay, so that's the bad news. So what is the good news? According to the article that I read, it turns out that those who tend to be more anxious are also, and are you ready? Those who tend to have higher IQs. These are people who tend to analyze things more and generally see more negative outcomes. And simply said, these people with higher anxiety and higher IQs tend to worry about things that are out of their control. In other words, according to this article, I think you could ask yourself, am I anxious right now? And, if the answer is yes, then good for you. It means that you're a more intelligent person. Of course, because of your worrying, you might also have a shorter lifespan. But, oh well, maybe that's the price of your higher IQ. But, in all seriousness, of course, we do need to distinguish between having a high IQ and being awake in the Buddhist sense, because I think Buddhism is trying to give us guidance on how to more deeply understand the difficulties we experience and thus helping us reduce our anxiety. And in this sense of seeing our difficulties in a new light, I think that as we begin a new year, is it possible to also see the previous year, 2020, as a kind of a gift? I say this because of 2020, we now have a greater appreciation of 2021 as not only offering the hope of an eventual return to some kind of normalcy, but also, I think, enabling all of us to be more appreciative of each moment of our lives and thus to live our lives more fully. And so, speaking of being appreciative, I want to end my talk by thanking all of the hardworking board members and staff of the temple, and really our entire Sangha, for your support throughout 2020. And I do hope that going forward, all of you can continue to give the temple your support. Throughout this ordeal, it has continually struck me how, in spite of all of us being physically separated, in many ways, we've actually become closer together. And so with that, I'd like to end my talk. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Once again, Happy New Year, and thank you all very much.
Happy New Year again. And it's been over 4 years since I came to the United States in the summer of 2016. And so this will be my last year in Los Angeles. Thanks to your support, I have been able to enjoy my time here as a Buddhist minister and have learned a lot working at the Betsuin. I hope that the situation throughout the world will improve soon and we will be able to meet again before I return to Japan. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to all of you for your kindness during my stay and look forward to your continued guidance and support. Thank you. 新年明けましておめでとうございます。2016年の夏に、アメリカに来て今年が最後の年になります。皆様のおかげで、ここ別院にて一人の僧侶としてたくさんのことを学ばさせていただきました。一刻も早くこの世界の状況が良くなり、日本に戻る前に皆様とまたお会いできることを願っております。本年も昨年同様、ご指導のほどよろしくお願い申し上げます。
Good morning, everyone, and best wishes for a very happy New Year. Last night we were able to have our Joya service, the year-end service at 6 o'clock yesterday evening, and again today, like all of our services from March, we're having to do it virtually, and we're not able to be able to welcome all of you to join with us. But this morning we welcome in a new year. And first of all, I'd like to thank you for all of the contributions that you made to the temple in this very difficult 2020 that we ended last night. The anticipation of the coming of 2021, it's much higher than in usual years because of the unbelievable difficult year of the COVID-19 pandemic that we lived through. Of course, just because we finished 2020 and today we begin 2021 doesn't mean that we can wipe clean the difficult days of last year and begin a brand new fresh year today. As we watch the news, we see that things are as bad as they've ever been. Record numbers of infections, hospitalizations, and deaths due to the virus. So it is difficult to say Happy New Year, but we can look forward to the beginning of a return to normal as we receive the vaccinations and as the spreading of the virus will diminish to the point where we can begin to open up the temple to have you join us again at our services and other events. The experts say that it will be summer or fall when we're able to get all of us vaccinated, so it will take time. Although 2020 is a year that we would all like to forget, there were some important things that happened. As I mentioned last night, on July 1st of last year, our good friend, the Overseas District Abbot, Choyu Otani, became the 26th abbot of our Shinshu Otaniha denomination, the first abbot who was fluent in at least 3 languages, and the appointment of his son, Yu Otani, as the Overseas District Abbot and the successor to the abbot. But the pandemic canceled the 13th World Dobo Gathering that was to be held in Kyoto in April of last year. But life went on, and 2020 will be a year that every one of us will remember. It is at times like this that we have the Buddha Dharma to support us and to help keep us on a good path regardless of the difficulties we must endure. Namu Amida Butsu is the teaching of our tradition, and we are encouraged to recite Namu Amida Butsu throughout our everyday lives. Some think that by saying Namu Amida Butsu, good things will happen. Good things might happen coincidentally, but basically that reciting of Namu Amida Butsu is directed at us. One aspect of Namu Amida Butsu is gratitude, to be grateful even in the midst of the fear and anxiety the pandemic has brought to our lives. Reverend Saito used to say that Namu Amida Butsu has two aspects. One is that aspect of expressing our appreciation for the lives that we have been given. But the other that is just as important, perhaps more important, is the feeling of saying, I'm sorry. And spending so much time together, I sometimes find myself arguing with Janet, and when I make mistakes, it's so difficult for me to apologize. It's for that self-centered attitude that we say Namu Amida Butsu as that expression of I'm sorry. When able to reflect that self-examination, realize that we really do have much to be grateful for. This is the teaching and the example that we receive from our spiritual forebearer, Shinran Shonin. Essentially, he was like us. He felt that he didn't have the capacity or the capability of climbing the ladder towards enlightenment. He referred to himself as a bombu, an ordinary, unawakened being, and it was that attitude that naturally enabled him to relate to all people and to have respect for all human beings and all of life. It was, in essence, the realization that I cannot live without others. We have a tendency to feel sorry for ourselves under such conditions that we had to live through in 2020. But even then, it's so important to be thankful for all that we have. As I often do, I would like to share one poem to end my talk that was written by the Shin Buddhist poet, Yoshio Toi. And it's called When I Awoke. When I awoke, I found that I was alive. I had not died. I had put aside all of my efforts to live as I enjoyed my sleep. But when I awoke, I found that I was alive. On this most wonderful morning, brighter, more wonderful than any since the beginning of time, I was alive. No, rather, I had been given the opportunity to live. I think this is a beautiful reminder that we are alive, and we tend to take it for granted. And as we grow older, we complain about the pains that we have in our backs or our legs and so forth. But the poet Yoshio Toi reminds us that we have been given the gift of life, and that regardless of the circumstances, we are alive. We have the opportunity to share our lives with others. We'll still have to avoid crowds, and even in order to be safe, to stay away from visiting relatives and friends. But he reminds us that there is nothing better than to be able to wake up every morning and enjoy another day of life. That's the reminder I have been given from the Buddhist teaching. I look forward to another year of listening to the Buddha Dharma together with all of you, and I thank you for celebrating the New Year with us. We hope to see you soon. Thank you for listening. 皆様、新年明けましておめでとうございます。ゆうべは除夜への言行をお務めすることができましたんですけども、ゆうべも今日も皆様とご一緒に集まってお務めすることができない、そういう状況を私たちが今生きています。しかしこうやってその新年を迎えるということは、本当に嬉しいことでありまして、2020年があまりにも大変な年であったので、新しい年を迎えるということは、普通よりも多い喜びかと思います。もちろん、ゆうべが去年の締め切りでしたが、2021年の始まりで、すべての問題が解決するわけではありませんのです。でも気持ちとしては新たな出発点でもあるかと思います。しかしニュースを見てますと、12月はパンデミックの一番感染者、入院している人で一番悲しいことが最高の COVID による死亡者の多い月になりました。合計で34万人を超えております。その事実を考えると、なかなかおめでとうと言いにくいお正月であります。ワクチンが実現しましたので、パンデミックの終わりが見えてきます。でも、科学者とか医者の方々は、全米の皆様に届くまでは半年以上、かかると言われておりますので、2020年は終わったのですが、COVID と一緒にもうしばらく我慢しなければならないことであります。本当に2020年は忘れたい年になったことでありますんですけども、例えばうちの新州大谷派では、去年の7月1日に、私たちのよく、なんて言いますか、知っております、大谷長友氏が26代目の門主になりまして、なんていうんですか、もう800年の歴史の中にこうやって日本語はもちろん英語もポルトゲス語もお話ができる、そういう門主を迎えたことであります。で、その息子様の大谷優さんが今度は開教式用になられて神門になられております。お二人とも3カ国語がしゃべることができますので、本当に新しい、なんていうんですかね、新州大谷派の 宗派の出発ではあるかと思います。もっと国際的な新宗派谷派ということであります。しかし、私たちは本当にこの1年間の間に、過去の1年間、非常に苦労しましたんですけども、こういう時に仏を歩ませていただくっていう、そういうことを私たちがいただいておりますので、南無阿弥陀仏を申しながら、生きていくっていうことが進められたことであります。南無阿弥陀仏は皆さんもご存知のように、一つの意味は感謝っていう、その感謝をするっていう意味と、もう一つは、私自身の愚かさ、そういうことを親鸞上人が、教えていただいたっていいますか、残していただいた、教えでありまして、元の私のなんていうんですか、前のご輪番でありました斉藤行子先生がよく子供に特に説明するときには、南無阿弥陀仏とはThank you ありがとうと、それから I'm sorry、申し訳ないっていう、そういう気持ちが2つ入っていて、それを、常に、なんていうんですか、覚えていくことが大切だということです。本当にこの、過去1年間、本当に苦労、多くの人たち、私たちを含めて苦労したとしてありますんですけども、本当に今生きているというその、ことを考えると、本当に、嬉しい、お正月を迎えるということが言えるかと思います。最後には遠い義雄様の詩を読ませていただきたいと思います。この詩は目が覚めてみたらっていう詩で、ある朝起きてすぐに書かれた詩であると言われております。目が覚めてみたら生きていた。死なずに生きていた。生きるための一切の努力を投げ捨てて、眠りこけていた私であったのに、目が覚めてみたら生きていた。ご一緒以来、一度もなかったまっさらな朝のど真ん中、生きていた。いや、生かされていた。というの詩なんです。その一番やっぱり大事なところが最後で、いや、生かされていたという、そういう受け止めが大切だと思います。こういうようなことを考えたり、またはその私たちが仏道を歩む、そういうその機会をいただいているので、共に今年もまた皆様と共に弔問をしていきたいと思うことであります。近いうちにはまた皆様に別院に来ていただいて、ご一緒にお勤めできるような日をお待ちしています。今日は本当にありがとうございました。
Thank you. So, let's conclude the New Year service, Shushoe, with singing of Ondok-san. それでは最後に音読さんを唱和して主唱会を終わりたいと思います。 I have a huge announcement. No Sunday service on January 3rd, and January short ski will be held on the Temple's Facebook page on January 10th from 10 a.m. So please join us. And also, we will have Eitaikyo service on January 31st. 最後にアナウンスメントがございます。1月3日は、日曜礼拝はございません。そして、1月10日は、Facebook で同じように、1月の小月サービスを行います。そして、1月31日は永代教、のサービスがございます。Okay. Thank you so much.